Welcome to the Rethreading Lives podcast, where we talk about how to take your threads of harm and through the rethreaded process, transform them into something that actually helps you reach your potential. We'll talk with different leaders in our city and our country and find out what they're doing. You'll walk away from listening to this podcast with useful insights and captivating stories on how you yourself can rethread your life and your business. I'm Kristin Keen, and this is the Rethreading Lives podcast. Welcome, listeners, to the Rethreading Lives podcast. This is going to be a very cool episode, is that I get a chance to do like a little bit of a deeper dive into the rethreading process with you. And I'm going to do a deeper dive with you by going back and listening to episodes where that element of the rethreaded process was clearly explained and applied. So the rethreading process, we put this together as a result of wanting to share the knowledge that we have learned over Rethreaded over the years about healing, because our women have experienced human trafficking, extreme trauma, right? And they're going through this process of healing, but the thing is, we all have something hard we've been through. You don't escape life without hard things, or sometimes you get stuck in your life and you feel like you've kind of plateaued. You can apply the rethreaded process to this to help you get unstuck and grow and reach your potential. So these 5 elements interact with each other. They're not linear. These 5 ingredients of time, community, openness, vision, purpose. So let's say that you have a break in your community. Let's say you move to a new city and your community sphere collapses. That part of your sphere collapses. The thing is, you can pour into your purpose and maybe pour into your vision and start to pull your sphere, and those will eventually pull out the other ingredients. It's more like a living and breathing organism that all interacts with each other. It's not a 5-step program. It's not a 3-step program. It's more like a lifetime journey of expanding your potential, healing, expanding your potential, healing, expanding your potential. So let's take a dive into these elements.
You're very intentional in your community about who's in and who's not.
Yeah. I don't want anything from my friends, and my friends don't want anything from me. And they are people that I feel comfortable enough to share everything with.
The power of intentionality. You can use your intentionality to destroy a person's life, or your intentionality to bring life.
Yeah.
And either way works.
Yeah.
I watched Stephanie, over when she was here for 5.5 years, like reclaim time. Time is our currency to heal. And probably at year 2, Stephanie had a shift, and she decided that healing was going to take the time it takes, and she was going to follow the process. So like, she lived with roommates for the first, 4 years after leaving the life, 5 years after leaving the life, because that's what she can afford. That's what she needed. And she embraced it and learned from it what she needed to. Sometimes she ate peanut butter and jelly for months and months and months because she could save to buy her own car, a more reliable car. Then she took the time to invest in her relationships with her family, and willingly over years and years and years earned back the trust of her brother. And somehow she figured out that healing takes time. Even though it's uncomfortable, even though it hurts, you can't bypass it. You can't make it quicker. It doesn't work. It takes the time it takes. And I learned so much from that episode 10 with Stephanie, on the power of being intentional with your time. And every single person that I've interviewed that is successful, that is reaching their potential, that is loving people well, has figured out how to be intentional with their time. And it's something I struggle with because I tend to be everywhere and a little bit unfocused, and watching people harness that power, and how once they figured that out and got focus, then their potential literally started to almost explode. We each have a purpose, right? We have a purpose. We have our roles in our life, and we bring our purpose into each of our roles. Like, your purpose isn't to be a mom. You bring your purpose into being a mom. Mm-hmm. And you're that kind of mom because you're Katrina and you bring this thing. And I feel like those words you just said are your purpose. Mm. Like, and you do that everywhere you go. I want people to believe that they can do hard things.
Mm-hmm.
And in every job that you've ever done, in your coaching, in your people helping lose weight, that is what I feel like part of what you're created to put on this earth for is you want people to be able to do hard things.
Yeah, I want them to have transformation.
I just got to teach a longer class, like a longer session on purpose, and it rocked my world. I think it rocked the women in the room's world because there is such freedom when you can understand that your purpose is detached from your roles. Because that means nothing can destroy you. No circumstance can destroy you. My purpose is to activate and envision the potential inside people. And that's it. No matter what I do in my life, what situation I'm in, that is what I'm created to do. It's not dependent on what role I'm in. I could do any job. I could be in any circumstance, hard, amazing, good. And that is my role. I mean, that is my purpose. So I'm getting to watch people have freedom as they go through hard things. Because Katrina lost her role as a mother, and it didn't destroy her because being a mom wasn't her purpose, it was her role. And she brought her purpose into her role. And watching her be able to navigate grief through that and still finding so much life on the other side of grief. Super inspiring.
What a leader needs to do is raise up other leaders who have other competencies that complement their weaknesses. And so like when you talk about community, it's you surround yourself with people who are strong in the areas you are weak in. Well, that is predicated on the idea you know what your weaknesses are and that you communicate your weaknesses to your team and that your weaknesses influence the decisions around you. Andy Stanley has, in my opinion, the best book on leadership. It's called The Next Generation Leader. And in that process, he says that a leader, you only do what only you can do. And the less you do, the more you accomplish. And the less you do, the more you enable others to accomplish. And so you have to be able to get out of your way, admit your faults, and then focus on your strengths, and you hire to your weaknesses.
This concept that Stephen's talking about is that I believe that you can't do anything great by yourself. It's some kind of myth that someone made up along the way, because reality is we cannot reach our potential without each other. That, of course, you can be successful on your own, but you will never reach your fullest potential by yourself. You have to have others. And I think community is harder because enters comparison, having to really know yourself. It allows other people around you to be the star. It means you have to slow down and navigate relationships. And it's also the transforming agent in your life, right? It's the people that you get to pour life into and they pour life into you. And you both become better. And that's true community. And that's what I want.
Our UPS guy.
Yeah.
Our ladies took it serious. We add value to every person who interacts with us, and they loved our UPS guy until he showed up at our birthday party. Because he was like, man, I'm part of the family. He's our UPS guy. He just does deliveries. Yeah. No, not this UPS guy. I mean, he was incredible. Yeah. Deeply invested in what Rethreaded was doing. And so he then began, same thing you said a minute ago, we pour into each other. It started with our ladies on the retail floor saying, my job is to love every human who walks in here, regardless of why they're walking in here. Plumber, love them. UPS guy, love them. And in return, he fell in love with us and would do anything for that team that they needed. Sure. Way more things than UPS was paying him for, because suddenly there's a heartbeat. There's a human being right there. And it became not business anymore.
Oh, so good. This talks about community, that we need each other. But I also want to point to purpose, right? That we all have specific purpose, but you could put down everyone's purpose on this earth is to love each other. And therefore, there's freedom in that, to live in community, because our retail store, it doesn't matter who walks through the door. It is irregardless of who walks through our door. They know their purpose is to love, and community is the context that they will love whoever is in front of them in community. And that's kind of how purpose and community interact with each other. And that's part of the freedom of living out your purpose in a community. It's so good.
I have an amazing family. having that as a base, a faith-filled family too, and a mom who is an amazing lady who really spoke into my brother and I beyond what we saw. And so we talk about like what I dreamed of being. Like I thought I could be anything. Like she talks about college. And I remember as a kid, like, who's going to college, Mom? Like, what are you talking about? Like, who are you talking about that's going to college? Because it wasn't a normal thing, but she talked about college as if it was normal. And she followed that with action. The school she sent us to, the educational experience we had. And so I thought that things were possible because of the word and the belief that my mom family put into my brother and I.
I loved that conversation with Travis. You have to go back and listen to it. He's talking about his family. Travis grew up on the East Side, which is an area that has a lot of poverty, some problems with drugs and violence. But Travis was surrounded by this beautiful community, like his mom speaking life into him over and over again about college, his grandparents who were the steady source of love, and just the community. All his aunts and uncles lived there. So he grew up in this rich community surrounded with people who loved him and could hold out hope for him and believe in him, even though he didn't know yet. He didn't believe in himself like that yet. And the power of a community allowed him to exceed the expectations of his neighborhood. It's beautiful. All right, next is vision. Vision is the belief that things can get better. And you believe them so deeply, you will take action. So what I believe is vision is what allows you to become unstuck, because it allows you to take risk and move forward and get out of your past and move into something that is future orientated.
Every year in January, he gives us a vision board. Is that what it's called, honey? We call it the wheel. It's the circle.
The goal,
it's the wheel.
I call it the goal circle. But
we call it the wheel because it looks like a wheel. And we all have to sit down and write out our vision or goals for the year. And then we bring out our one from the year before. And we look and see where we were successful, where we weren't, and where we're moving. And it's become really fun.
I mean, we're taking adults through it at Rethreading.
Right.
We're teaching adults how to do that. And we went to a training that a friend of ours, Wally, does. And it's the same thing. And he and his wife review it every Sunday.
Wow.
Oof. And imagine teaching your kids to live life intentionally,
right.
Write it down, plan for it, and then go execute
Well,
it. That's a brilliant thing to teach a kid.
Oh, y'all, this is the owners of Riverside Homes. And oh my gosh, these people are they are so incredible. Their faith in God allows them to always be connected to this vision that's bigger than them. And they're instilling that into their kids, that they sit down with their kids and they write out what they want their year to look like, right? So there's no way their family's going to get stuck. This allows them to take risks. This allows them to realize that everything they're doing matters because they have this vision of where they're going as individuals, as families. And I'm telling you, those are two very special people who know exactly what they want their life to be about, where they're headed, and truly finding joy in the journey. They're incredible.
I have battled mental illness. I had a horrible eating disorder when I was in high school, and I've struggled with anxiety and depression. And in my darkest days, I would be lying to you if I told you that I didn't question my existence on this planet.
Yeah.
In those darkest times, it wasn't shortly thereafter where things started getting better. And I always looked back on that and said, thank God I didn't do something stupid. Because it was temporary. The darkest that it is right before the sun comes up, starts peeking up. Hang in there. It always gets better. And God is putting us through these trials and tribulations for some reason. And it's hard to define what that is. Sometimes we might not figure that out. But there's a reason that we're going through those things. And you start weaving back together the goodness that you have in your life and the talents that the Lord has given you. And you start rebuilding yourself and rethreading yourself. Stick through it. Go find help. Go find support. But don't give up.
So openness we're defining as the ability to be honest about what is and vulnerable with others about what is. And this interview with Chris Shee, it kind of rocked my world a little bit because if you look from the outside, He is an incredible human being, right? He's happily married. He gives away thousands and thousands of dollars to charity. He creates events to give away more money to charity. He is from the outside fulfilled, right? And then Chris was open and honest about his past and his struggle with mental illness and his struggle still with anxiety and depression. And some of his clips on his episodes, we've had more likes and more shares than on anything we've done because he chose to be open. And this is what I do know, is that when there is a leader who is successful and intentional and doing all these beautiful things and also struggles with anxiety and depression, I think it creates space for others to be struggling with anxiety and depression and to realize it all doesn't have to be okay, that they can hold the paradox, right? They can hold the hard things in life and the good things. Like Chris has developed this capacity to hold it all, hold the anxiety, but then also hold all this amazing things that he does in the world. And I learned from Chris how to hold life better. So as we did this deeper dive, I really hope that I'm not the best communicator, right? It's the paradox of my life that I want to be a speaker and I want to do this rethreading process. And I want so badly for the listeners to be able to understand the process and be able to apply it to your life and have more and more capacity to hold all the good things in life and hold all the hard things in life with love. And I just thank you so much for being on this journey. And I hope you learned from our guest. And maybe today you got some keys that helped unlock that potential that's inside you. Thank you so much. We're excited about season 2. So hang in there. It is coming down the pipe. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and go and shop at Rethreaded. Thanks, everybody.